Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this weekly ag forecast video brought to you by AgSouth Farm Credit. I want to start you off with what February has given us, and this is a map of total precipitation ranks by climate district. And what I'm getting concerned about is parts of North Carolina, because we have really been missing decent rains across, especially the eastern half of the state now for a while. There was better moisture back in January and certainly better moisture back in December, but we've really been missing out as of late. And what I want to show you is that since the beginning of February, these three reporting districts here, especially this one, is having its third driest start to any February on record. Now we need to see if any sort of moisture is coming into that area and also keep this in the broader context of the rest of the United States. Because when you look at this same data, but instead with soil moisture, we look down there to 100 centimeters or 40 inches, and now it looks just as dry over this part of North Carolina as it does throughout parts of the Ohio River Valley and also parts of the Western Corn Belt. And this has been an area that over the last 3 to 4 years, we've watched moisture getting pulled from the soil and not replenished. So I'm getting very concerned about this and what it might mean, because you did just finally show up on the newest drought monitor. Now, I'm going to show you that in a second, but before we see the newest monitor, can we look back over the last 8 weeks and see what's changed? So this is a drought monitor class change map, and what it shows is improvements in these colors and degradation in these. And in the last monitor, we've now increased the area of abnormally dry weather right into this region. It's also been increasing in this part of Montana, the Northern Rockies, but we've seen a lot of improvement in other places around the country, especially parts of the South, Mid-South, Ohio Valley, getting right over here toward the Appalachian Mountains. Now here's the newest monitor. So when we see the latest drought monitor, there it is. This is the area that has expanded just in the last week. And right now, it's kind of the only area in AgSouth territory that's been showing up on the drought monitor. But I want to watch this very, very carefully as we press forward. Now, overall, the models want to say wet. And I'm going to show you the rest of March, the forecast for April. We're even going to look out there at all the long-range forecasts I can show you till summer. We're going to have a look at those. But as it stands, I'm concerned that that's happened, because you know that most of my forecasts for you for the last several months have been for a lot of the South and Southeast to recover this winter from drought. And we have in most places, except this area. One of the biggest recoveries has been, though, down here in the Mid-South, where the drought monitor, which has shown major improvements, is also being seen in the Mississippi River water levels. After being last November and again in December and even early January down here well below, 8 to 10 feet below low stage, the river has made a pretty significant jump, and currently it's about 15 feet above low stage. So that's just, of course, that's over the Appalachian Mountains. It's out in the middle part of the country, but I want to keep you aware of those things. Here's been another interesting story this particular winter. You're looking at the season-to-date percent of normal snowfall. And I show you this because we've not gotten any, of course, in North Carolina, unless you are up against the mountains, especially on their western side. But other than that, we've not had much in the way of snow at all. It's interesting to look at this map because I want to show you where we are in terms of snow water equivalent today versus where we were a year ago. Now look at the difference across the northern tier of the United States. We've got big questions as to what that means for the upcoming pattern, because the pattern that we've gotten into to make this year so snow-free has largely been because of extremely mild air. And over the last month, not last month, but last 22 days, the last 22 days of this month, parts of the Midwest, upper Midwest have been near record warm, and we've been certainly in the top third of the distribution of years in North and South Carolina and Georgia in terms of temperatures. What's interesting about this is this feels as though we're pushing the crop calendar ahead very, very quickly. And as a result of that, we are worried that if any cold air can get let out, we need to know where it's going to come from and the timing on it. And I'm going to talk to you more about that in just a few moments. But this morning, I was keeping an eye on the satellite data as we watched the showers and storms move over us. Yesterday, these were right over parts of the Mid-South, hitting this area with some hail. In fact, just to show you, this is where we had some hail yesterday. Thankfully, the storms coming through here are not producing severe conditions right now. But just so you know where we stand, currently, as of this point in February, we've had 70 tornadoes reported nationwide. The 10-year average is 88. In terms of hail reports, let's take a look at those. We're down here. We've had 154 reports. Average is 134, so we're just a hair above average right here. And then in terms of wind reports, we are well above average. Normal is 454. We're at 619. So there's questions about, all right, we're making this transition towards spring. Meteorological spring starts in a week. And then we have the equinox in less than a month. What does that mean as we progress forward and get into this very busy time frame? I want to talk about all of that on these end slides down here. But in the meantime, this is what we're dealing with now. Most of the action for the next several days is going to be in the northwest. And then next Tuesday and Wednesday in the Midwest. And maybe by next Thursday, we're going to be talking about something hitting the Carolinas down to Georgia that I have some concern about. In the meantime, what you're going to be dealing with is this trough right here. There's a trough of low pressure currently sitting just south of the Hudson Bay. And what's going to happen is it's going to keep diving with a cold front through the Great Lakes that's going to make it to the Appalachian Mountains tomorrow and try to push some colder air over us to start our weekend. But then the real action's behind it when the polar jet meets up with this cutoff low to produce a big system right here in the midsection of the country. That's going to race toward New England. Then a few days after that, another one's going to follow the same trajectory. And then 3 days after that, another one's going to follow the same trajectory. I'll show you the timing of these in just a moment. So what are we dealing with in the near term? Well, let's take you back to the beginning of this run. Here we go. This was this morning on Friday. We watched the rain exit. We needed it. Good thing we got some of that in. By this evening, it's going to be turning our attention to the north and west for some snow coming through this part of the Midwest. That snow by Saturday morning is going to push up against the Appalachian Mountains, but I don't think we get enough cold air to keep it snow on the eastern side of the mountains. So the Blue Ridge is going to be the parking spot for that snow. But you can tell some more light showers coming through Saturday through North Carolina before that exits. And then we wait. You're going to be waiting for a while for the next system to come through. And what we're waiting on is this. Coming out of the Pacific Northwest on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday is the combination of the polar jet and the subtropical jet coming together. And the phasing of these two waves will be the ultimate determining factor on the size and strength on Tuesday and Wednesday of a deep, fast-moving low coming out of the central United States racing toward New England. And as it does so, there will be a system that rolls through and a front that follows it that's going to come all the way over the top of us, giving us a chance for some rain, some storms, and maybe severe storms. Now, it is a week away from, 6 days away from us. I'm not certain yet about the strength of this for you all. I'll show you what I know, but that's what I want you to remember. Then, 3 days later, starting on the 1st of the new month, there it is again, another deep trough, another wave moving through, another system rolling across the country. When does it get to us? Next Saturday. I'll show you that. And then that system then behind it follows and hits us a third time. So the net effect of this is we're going to go over to a pretty active time period. Right now, the best guidance I have is the next Tuesday there's severe weather in the Midwest, followed by Wednesday over the Mid-South. The Thursday forecast, which is a 7-day outlook according to the WPC, because they include today in that, you see that we don't yet know, not WPC, SPC, Storm Prediction Center. We don't yet know, but I'm going to be on the lookout for it anyway. So let me show you the models. Ready? We've already talked about what's coming through Friday. That's out. Then the snow that's trying to get over toward the Appalachian Mountain and Blue Ridge Mountains on Saturday. That brings some light rain into North Carolina. And then we wait. Watch the Northwest. Watch the central United States. This is Tuesday, getting into Wednesday. The models are attempting, look at the European first, by Wednesday, midday, to rip a front right over the top of us. Could there be some strong to severe storms? I'm looking over here, so you should too. Possibly. The GFS says, wait, it's not Wednesday. It's Thursday that comes through. And holy cow, does it bring possibly some snow to this side of the Appalachian Mountains. What a difference. Now watch this. After that on Thursday, the European model says bring the subtropical jet in again and kick off another storm system over the Mid-South. The GFS says, no, there's going to be high pressure. They don't even agree. No agreement at all in this. What I'm going to tell you is the higher skill score model is the European. Keep an eye out for next Friday, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for the potential for another system to come near us. Now, given that there's a lot of model discrepancy, we're going to compare them and then look at the ensembles to get a good idea. So here's your next 7 days from the European model. Here's the next 7 from the GFS. Look at the differences. I mean, it's not only here in Texas and the Mid-South, but look at the Carolinas. That's the European. That's the GFS. Look at Georgia. Look at South Carolina. What a difference between the models. In fact, I can compare them and tell you that the European model is the wetter model for us. Both systems coming through, it's the wetter model. And remember, the European also then brings in that 1st, 2nd, 3rd. That's a difference maker. On the snowy side of it, any chances? Well, here's your chance of snow coming through with the system that's going to be going through the Midwest Saturday. So it's really going to stay here in the mountains, and it's not much. But look at the Western Mountains really picking up quite a bit. And on the GFS, That's the system that follows bringing in the snow to this side of the mountains, and I have no trust in it at all. So can we just do this? This is the chance over the next 10 days of getting an inch. So do you see the differences here? That GFS model is really, really aggressive and is probably wrong. But if we talk about who's going to be wet versus who's going to be dry, notice how dry the Western Plains and the Southern Plains are going to be over the next 10 days. This is the chance it's staying under 1/10 of an inch. Where if we flip this up to us a chance of being over an inch, we now have a 50 to 80% chance across AgSouth territory over the next 10 days from these three systems of getting more than an inch of rain. We need it right here. That's why I started off the video showing you the issues here. We need to get the moisture back into this area. So we'll be watching this very, very carefully. And by the way, here's the chance at 2 inches. So there's still a 50% chance of bringing in 2 inches here. Some of you are going to prove it, and I'm saying the same thing. We got to watch the evolution of these next three systems to see if this happens. But before it all gets here, we're in a waiting mode. This is all midweek to the end of week next week and beyond. So we'll keep a close eye on it. What I do know is the atmosphere is not done. March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, as that little system sneaks through, look at the deeper one in the west. That one comes out into the midsection of the country by the 4th and 5th. That would be system number 3 for us. And then we just continue with this. Another one out here March 7th. I love these guys, the ones that come through and they just keep driving through the country like this. That's why the week 2 forecast is showing wetter than average, especially in the European model for day 8 through 14, which is March 1 through 7. And it's also there in the GFS. I love it because it beats back drought. Now, what does it do to the temperatures? Well, this is the cold air I'm watching right now. That cold air is going to be moving toward us over the weekend, which is why we have frost in this whole area forecast over the next 7 days. Most of it's coming in with cold air coming in right now. So here's Friday's highs. Watch how quickly we replace that on Saturday with colder air and on Sunday with colder air as well. Watch the Midwest. Monday, Tuesday, 20 to 35 degrees warmer than average. That's the setup for the severe weather. We go back over very mild on Tuesday as well. It's going to be quite windy. There's Wednesday's temperatures, and we're going to knock them back down by next Thursday. Beyond that, though, what we have to talk about is this. Day 5 through 10, where's all the cold air? Alaska. Where's it day 10 through 15? Alaska. Does the European model agree? Yes. And what I don't like is when this is waiting here, it can get let out at some point in March. Now, what it takes to get it out, you got to poke it out. You got to have something that comes up here and ridges this out. Big high latitude blocking, or the polar vortex, which is in Russia right now. It's got to come back. Or the MJO to jump way back out in the Pacific. A lot of things can do it, just none of them are showing up now. So I need you to know that because we've been so mild. Do we have substantial risk of going over cold again before we get into the time of year where it just doesn't matter, where the chance of a frost is gone? March is going to be an interesting month for us. Your first 9 days, I don't have any signals for that cold air. All right, what do we see beyond that? This is what I've got for the March analogs. I chose every year that had an El Niño and put them into a big composite map. Now, to be honest, for us to be off by a half a degree, maybe a degree cooler than normal, who cares? The cooler signal being west means we'll probably get more ridging east. Are we wetter? Sure. Actually, I think we're wetter even farther into the interior than what's shown here. Take a look at the temperature in the model. That's the European model's projection for March. Close to average for us, right? Coldest weather's west. What about precipitation? This is the 30-day outlook for March. Take a look at this. Wet. I still think that this is a possibility. And the atmosphere right now is telling me, with the position of the polar jet and the subtropical jet coming together over the west, that it could do this. Could really get going. But what about beyond March? You say, well, show me April, Eric. I'm like, all right, I'll do it, but I don't want you to rely on it. April's a transition month. It's the hardest month of the year to forecast. I'll still show it to you. You put all the El Niño years together, you tended to be near normal in temperatures, more mild north, cooler in Texas, and wetter from Texas all the way to the Carolinas. But don't rest on this. I'm going to be completely honest with all of you. Even though what I'm about to show you does not say it, I am concerned about the risk of ridging here this summer. Southeast ridging. And my concern over that comes from some of these analog years. The year that maybe looks most like 2024 is 2016. And in 2016 in April, we were drier. In fact, we continue to get drier in parts of the Southeast through the rest of that year. And I don't like it. I don't like that that's one of the years showing up in my analog package. But we have to take that with a grain of salt. Again, we got to take this and look at other factors. So let's do that again. What about the European model? This is its long-range forecast. That was history I showed you a moment ago. This is the long range. March, April, May. I see wetter. Go into April, May, June. Still near normal to wetter. Where's the dryness? It's in Texas. This is May, June, July. What's the model trying to do here? Put in higher pressure here. And I'm telling you, I'm just not yet convinced it couldn't be here instead. All right, that's one model. What does our government say? This is their March, April, May forecast. Chance of exceeding normal precipitation? They've got us wet spring. What about April, May, and June? Still wet. What about May, June, July? Still wet. What about June, July, August? Normal to still a little bit wetter than normal. Now, I'm not just saying what I told you to be contrarian. What I'm saying is there's some of the analog years we're looking at that have a different story than this. They're flip-flopping these two things. My point is we just don't know yet. You've now seen what I'm watching, but we do not have a solid picture yet on what late spring into early summer is going to look like. Yes, there's agreement between the long-range models and what NOAA's saying, but I have yet to see the atmosphere really give me a strong signal to believe that that's the case. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how quickly La Niña shows up, if it shows up, what the ocean temperatures do in the Gulf of Alaska and off the Baja of California, and do we keep the ocean temperatures here really warm? If they do, I'm worried about where the Bermuda high sits. Does it become a Nashville high? Or does it leave? Or does it stay in its normal spot? But certainly going to be concerned about the hurricane season going forward. All right, one last thing to share with you today, a bit of an international update. On precipitation first, take note that parts of Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Turkey around the Black Sea showing up drier, wet across much of Western Europe. We're wet in a big section of Australia right now. Normally we'd be pretty dry here, but they're wetter. In South America, we see really dry conditions in the interior for the next 10 days, wetter in Argentina. They're going to finish harvest of the soybeans here pretty quickly, and they're going to start planting safrinha corn. Finish the planting of safrinha corn. The big concern is that this area may go over dry in April, hurting that safrinha crop. I'll keep you updated on that in each week as we approach April, but I'm worried about that. Temperature-wise, mild Europe, mild North America. The only major metropolitan area, major concentration of people globally that's under some cooler weather is right here in this part of China. But that's not enough to change northern hemisphere heating demand, which is important for our energy markets. That's it. Have a good weekend. I'll pick this up again next week. We'll give you a new update. Thanks.